Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Podcast. This is the back of the bus session. Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. Today, my mate's back here, Daniel James.
Crackers nuts.
Every time. Mate, how you doing?
Right, man, how about yourself?
You're back already?
I'm back already.
I'm buzzing to have you back. We said we were going to do these every 2 or 3 months.
Yep.
But we decided, you know what? We had a lot of fun.
We did.
So let's just rock them out whenever we feel.
That's the thing. Like, coming back to help the kids out on the farm as well. So I thought, while we're here, rather than get caught in traffic, get a bit earlier, record a podcast.
And the reason that you're back to help the kids is because there's been a big uproar about getting you back. It's like last week you had 1 week off and they're like, where is that man?
Who is that man?
That was brilliant, honestly. You had some tears, didn't you, that day?
But
Beautiful tears.
Yeah, but like I say, it's interesting because it's not really anything that I'm sort of comfortable is the wrong word, but obviously you brought me in to do one thing, which is the creative writing, which is not my forte. And then just off the back of that, just having conversations, literally just talking and genuinely caring.
That's your forte,
yeah, and then off the back of that, there was 2 girls that were struggling. I was like, well, let's just sack this off and just chat about that. And then obviously when they opened up a little bit more, it's like, I basically need to have more of a one-to-one session with you because I just couldn't do what I needed to. And and like I said, obviously the fact that then got teary about it as well. It's good. It shows that it has the impact. That's what it's about.
They've spoke about it since a lot. Yeah, they're just saying nobody's taken that time for us before just to sit there and ask what's going on, where are you at, and genuinely cared. Yeah. I thought that was absolutely beautiful.
That's the difference. And this is the thing. I think sometimes people think that I do it just because they're young people. But it's how you've seen me when I'm doing the talk. When we had those guys in the room at Audi, I will literally talk to anybody. Yeah. Like anyone wants to talk and open up and have that space, I would just listen. Because that's the one thing that helped me was having someone that I could just talk to that genuinely cared and wanted to listen. And that's all I try and do. I don't really do it consciously.
Who was that for you?
Someone called Sarah. So it's confusing because at the same time I had a girlfriend called Sarah. So it wasn't her. It was just someone I worked with called Sarah.
But just gave you that space and container to
just talk.
Yeah.
That's it. Literally, she said, "I know you're not okay. You give me a lift home tonight."
Was he a work person?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I think I shared it on the first time I was on the podcast with you, and then basically she said, "You give me a lift home tonight," because she couldn't drive. Even though she was at the time I'd have been 29, and she was in her 40s, early 40s or late 30s. So she couldn't drive, and she said, "You're taking me home." And literally, as I drove her home, she was just like, "Go on then, talk." And I didn't even know that I was struggling mentally at the time. I had no idea. It was just like verbal diarrhea just came out.
Wow.
And like I said, I didn't realise I wasn't okay until I kind of spoke it out loud. I was just like.
Did you have floods of tears then? Or?
It wasn't floods of tears. It was more of like I then drove home because basically I had to drop her off on the way home, and it was about a 30-minute drive by myself after that. And I kind of just like, oh, that was weird. And it was like a bit of an epiphany moment for me. Like, oh, I feel like lighter. I couldn't really describe it. I didn't really know what that was, but I just felt a bit lighter about the whole situation and the acceptance of actually I wasn't okay. Whereas before I'd just been in denial. I'd have someone external from the situation just be like, yeah, you were not okay, or you are not okay. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, why do you think that we don't carve out them spaces enough, or places where we can just openly and honestly talk about where we're at?
I think people, first of all, don't know how to talk, and secondly, people don't know how to listen.
Yeah.
And especially when
two important factors there.
Yeah, so that's what it is. So people say, oh, yeah, just talk to someone. And this way, if you notice on the guests on my podcast, when I ask that question at the end, like, what bit of advice would you give someone that's struggling? Or feeling alcohol and struggling, 9 times out of 10 they'll say just talk and open up, but there's always that caveat of make sure somebody you trust, because we can always feel safe around certain people, but we know we don't really trust them. So we've got those friends where we feel comfortable in their presence and they're fine, but to tell them a secret we know that it's going to get out. So if you're going to pour your heart out to someone, you've got to make sure you tell the right person, and it might not actually be your best friend. It might actually be that person that is kind of on the fringes, but every single time you've needed them, they've been there and they've never let you down. And they know some stuff about you. They've never said anything. Like, they're the kind of people you want to go talk to because they'll keep your secret and they'll probably want to listen more than your best friend that maybe wants to be a gossip on you or something like that.
Honour your truth.
Exactly. So it can be hard to find the right person, but it's also people say, "Oh, talk to me." But why don't you talk to me? And it's because they're not good listeners. They'll always give an opinion. It's like that friend Paul Cope. Like, do you want me to listen or do you want my advice? It's a really important thing of like, do you want me to listen to you or do you actually want some advice? Because sometimes people just want to talk. And they just want to be heard. And other times people are like, I'm struggling, I'm going to dump this on you, and I would like your advice. So I had a client literally earlier on this week where I had an opinion on a situation that was going on in her life, none of my business. But she then said to me, I want your opinion. And I says, okay, like, but what do you want me to do with this? Like, do you want me to, like, how do you want me to phrase this to you? Do you just want me to tell you what I see, or do you want me to kind of give you some advice with this? Like, what do you want? And she went, I want you to just tell me what you see, and then what you would do if you were me. Okay. So she literally told me, this is what I want from you. And then as I was telling her the story, I said, just so you know, I'm only telling you this because you've asked. Like, I kept saying, this is none of my business. And she's like, I'm making it your business because I value your opinion. So she goes, I know that you wouldn't choose to say this.
That's an aware act, isn't it? Yeah, she's very aware in that.
She's incredible. She's one of the nicest people. She's listening to this. She knows exactly who she is. An incredible human being. And again, that's the journey I've been on with her. Like, I have taken her from someone that's really stuck and out of control to this place where she's got this awareness, which is why she's like, I value your opinion. You know me so well. Like, I've got these thoughts in my head. I want you to tell me what you see and what you think. And then we then had a conversation off the back of that. I'm actually meeting her tomorrow to go for a walk. Since we spoke, she had that sort of period to let it sort of digest a bit, and we're going to have another conversation about it.
Do you have a guru, a therapist, a mentor, somebody to go to?
Do you know what? It's bizarre. So the lady that's responsible for getting me into schools came to see me again this week, just for a chat. She's moving to America, and I basically turned around to her and said, like, I owe you pretty much everything where I'm at right now. She's, oh, you don't owe me anything, blah, blah, blah. But then she's like, oh, so what are you doing with yourself? So I was basically telling her about the studying I'm doing, the reading I'm doing, all this sort of stuff. And then she went, who do you talk to about this stuff? And I went, no one, because I don't really have anyone to talk to it about. Like, I talk to you on a level when we're doing it, but again, the stuff I'm talking about and what I'm studying wouldn't really be of any interest to you. Same with Katie. I talked about loads of stuff, but it's not really the stuff that because it's not, people aren't really interested, if that makes sense. So I says, no one really. So can't talk about it on my podcast because I put stuff out that I think will be benefit of people. But so I did have a mentor at one point. I've had a couple of mentors. I have virtual mentors where basically people that study online that they have no idea I exist. I just look at their content. That's basically it. But that's it. And sometimes it can get a bit lonely. And Katie's starting to realize as well. I'm getting in my own head a little bit sometimes in a good way. Like, I like to just think and ruminate and process and almost like journaling, but it's in my head. Sometimes she'll say to me, like, I asked you a question, you answered it, and then she'll ask me again, and I'm like, what?
So do you feel these people that you're listening to their information or their podcasts or anything like that, would you class them as a mentor? And do you feel safe and held in the space that they get you by just listening to them? You don't need a conversation with them. You just understand, well, they believe this, I believe this. I've found my group in that way. I don't need to necessarily have a relationship with them.
Yeah, exactly that. And then also, I'll sit and write about it.
Yeah, I feel that way with like comedians or even Joe Rogan or people on podcasts that I listen to. I feel on my dog walks in the morning, I've got a little friendship circle without even having to meet them.
Exactly, and then like you almost have a conversation with yourself about it. And
I'm
sure
that's
like
so
me,
true,
sometimes halfway through the podcast, maybe you pause it because something really profound has been said, and you just pause maybe and walk in silence and ponder what's been said and be like, that's interesting. What do I think about that? And you're almost having a conversation with yourself, and then you probably walked another 30 minutes inside your own head in a constructive way, thinking about what you've just heard. And that for me is then that's because that's what it's all about.
It's true introspection. Then,
because me and you, what's the difference between me and you talking now, or let's say you're my mentor? What's the difference? You say something to me. I'm in the moment, but I'll then go away and be like, oh, that's interesting. And some of you will say will really hit home with me, and I just go away and think about it. And same thing with podcasts, like, because for me. Especially when you listen, again, I don't listen to Joe Rogan unless you send me an episode that you think I don't really listen to him. He's not really my bag.
No, Jordan Peterson this morning actually.
Yeah, but stuff like that. So again, I like Jordan Peterson. I don't really like listening to his stuff unless it's something profound. You say this, and then I will. I like the guy. I love what his messages are. But I don't listen to a podcast. It's not really my vibe.
Yeah, I get you.
So I will then listen to it all. I can't remember what's going on in this conversation. What was I talking about? I literally can't remember. Where are we going with the conversation?
We were saying that we don't need them in our lives. We listen to them. We resonate with them.
Yeah, so then just basically listen to them. Basically, as I'm listening, I'm breaking it down and being like, yeah, this resonates with me. Why doesn't this resonate with me? And that's all it is. And what you do is that's what the point I was getting at. If it's an hour or 2 long hour episode, if me and you listen to that 2 hour long episode, you will get something completely different out of it than I will. Because I'm hearing it and I need to hear something different than you need to hear.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. And again, I will turn off maybe after 15 minutes to go away with the fairies and reflect on that part.
I like that.
You'll then turn off after 30 minutes to reflect on something. So I've then missed the next 15 minutes. So we're listening to two different... Exactly. But not even that, because...
I know,
and that's why when you may have seen when you've watched a movie before, something will happen, your attention goes. You then watch the movie the second time, you're like, what was this in the movie that because your attention just disappears. And that's the thing for me when I'm doing all this stuff. I'll be listening to it like I'm a full believer in the universe. Like I'm not a believer in a God. I think it's universal energy, whatever you want to call it. I will hear what I'm meant to hear during that episode.
I hear you.
Does that make sense? I will hear what I'm meant to hear, and it's ready for me.
Different strokes for different folks,
exactly,
kind of thing.
Exactly. And it's like when I'm reading a book. Like sometimes I'll pick a book, because you've seen my bookshelf. I'll pick a book. Sometimes I'll just pick a book because I'm not even reading, and I'll just literally open a page and I'll read that page and be like, there's something on this page I'm meant to read, or no. And I'll just go, oh, it's interesting. And so it's really bizarre how my mind sort of works. So yeah, that's my mentors at the minute.
I absolutely love that. And also something in different strokes for different folks. You're doing something at the minute that you didn't expect to be doing, but you're doing public speaking, which you always expected to be doing. But then you did a comedy sketch recently. Not a sketch, is it? Tell that story, man. Because not only did you do that and put yourself out your comfort zone, you won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's look at everything that I talk to my clients about. I don't necessarily talk about stuff that I don't put into practice myself or do myself. So if you ever hear me on my podcast, the stuff I'm talking about is stuff that I do, because I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want people to be able to see me in person, talk to me about it, and me not know. Does that make sense? Like, so I've got to, and it's same with my clients. I'm like, and I'll say something. I'm like, so the other week I did a workshop with my clients about something, and it's taken me 2 months to do that workshop. I've told them I was going to do it. I said, I've heard this concept, but I don't really understand it yet. So I'm just going to go away and really understand it. And when I've understood it, I will then deliver it to you. Rather than, I've heard and seen this thing, let me share it with you. Because that's not who I am. I've got to really understand
concept
it. B times do equals have. It's a formula. I've used it before, but I showed a new way of thinking about it. And I was really like, this is fascinating. I want to dive into this a bit more to really understand it. I've used the concept before. I've explained it to my clients before, but I had a new spin on it. So I'm like, I'm not just going to add this to what I already know. I want to amalgamate the two and create something new. And that's what I did, and then I shared it.
But truly hone in on it.
Exactly. So to link that back to what we're talking about there is that I want to be one of the best speakers in the world. And for people that listen to this, like, might be an out there concept, but for me, I've got that motto of shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, fall back on stars. Because why play small? So my thing is that I want to be speaking on stage in front of thousands of people, delivering this message that's going to help people. I know that I'm good at public speaking. I'm very well aware of that. It's one of my natural gifts. I didn't think it ever was. At school, I was shaking at the front of the room. When I was doing that thing last night, shaking in front of the room. But for me, when I've got information I know can help people, I feel like I have to get it out there to help them. So for me, I heard something on a podcast, and it was basically this business person saying, write down the 5 areas of your business or 10 areas of your business. So it could be like marketing, public speaking, sales, whatever it is, like your things, and then rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And then he says, right, I've now got a tablet. And this tablet, if you take it, one of your numbers can go up by 2. Which one would it be?
Cool.
And basically at the end, like I said, 98% of people that were in that room, so let's say there's 100 people in the room, 98 of the people in the room will basically have gone for their weakest one, let's say marketing, and made that from a 4 to a 6. He says, congratulations, you're now exactly the same as everyone else in the room at marketing. He says, actually, why not take your public speaking that's an 8 out of 10, and now you're a 10 out of 10. So now you're exceptional at that. And you can now pay people to do the thing that you're a 4 at. And that, as soon as I heard that, I was like, wow.
Tony said that to us once.
Yeah, exactly. So Tony told me that story. Yeah. And I heard it on another podcast. So me and Tony were talking about it. So Tony was talking about it in the gym about it. Because I'd heard it years ago and I'd known it. Yeah. And I spoke to Tony about it. And Tony went, where'd you hear it? I said on a podcast. I went, well, that's bizarre. I was in a conference. And yes, Tony.
Amazing.
Yeah. We had a great conversation about it in the gym. And then that's what I said to Tony about. He says, why are you doing the public speaking? I said, this is why. And then he said, oh, well, that's interesting because I heard the same thing. Yeah. So my thing is like, right, my strength is public speaking. I'm good at it. I've got passion when I deliver. You've seen me. I'm very passionate when I talk. I've got the energy, whatever you want to call it. Cool, I'm just going to double down on it. So now that I'm joining a public speaking group to basically help me get better.
That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, because I want to be able to do my first goal is to be able to do a TED talk or TEDx talk. And again, I know you can just put your name down and do them.
Are they quite popular?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but like it's just a good thing to have as a speaker. Say you've done one. But I
don't. Not TED Talk. Sorry.
So they're international. So they're all over the world. Awesome. Yes, they're all over the world. And then for me. So I went to this event, this group, and every time I've been there 5 times, and each time I've basically won an award for. You evaluate the speakers as well. Someone talks and you evaluate. So I've got an award for speaking, an impromptu speaking, evaluator, whatever it is. And basically the guy came up to me one day and said, "Listen, we've got a competition. Do you want to enter a competition?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" Like to get the opportunity to speak in front of like people internationally. I was like, "Yeah," this is why I'm here. It's only then next time he then says, "Oh yeah, it's a humorous speech."
Oh god!
I was like, "Oh my god," because I never would have put my name out to do that. But that's the whole point. And again, the universe. Like, I'm not there to just do what I know I'm good at. That's the whole reason why I'm not there. Because I know that if you give me my speech, know it off by heart. I don't need to work on that speech. I need to work on being a better public speaker. And I can't do that by doing the same stuff I've always done. So that for me, again, was the universe being like, oh, you really want to do this thing you say you want to do? Well, here you go. Humorous speech. Off you go then. And I literally saw it as that. Like, because I didn't intend to do that. I was like, this is so out of my comfort zone, but this is why I'm here. So let's go. And then we spoke to my friend Owen, that's been on my podcast. The first time me and you met on the podcast, like you doing my podcast, who again, he's been on my podcast. It's the first time Mikey was a videographer there, and I jumped on a call with him. Said he's a comedian in America. I said, "Listen, I'm doing this thing." He then gave me some advice. For 20 minutes, the advice he gave me was terrible and made me feel worse.
Why
and then
worse?
Because he was basically saying, "Oh, you can write comedy like this or like that," and nothing was clicking with me. Nothing was clicking. Do you know when someone was like, imagine that with music or something, and
just doesn't hit.
It just does not hit, and you're trying to do a different way. That you're like, "Oh, do you want to go to rock music?" And you're speaking to someone like, "Oh, is this how you do it?" And you're just like, no, you make me feel worse. Like, I literally feel so overwhelmed now because I can't do any of this. And then the last thing he said was about how Joe Rogan, which I know you relate to, writes his comedy, which is basically just telling stories. I was like, wow, this gives me a framework that works for me. Hell yeah. So I just did that. And the title, I'm not going to do the whole speech, obviously, it's 7 minutes, but the title was The Story of When I Saw My First Brazilian.
Mate.
And again, it has to be PG. You can't any bad language or anything like that. And again, obviously, the name of that conjures up images in people's heads, and that's what I played on throughout the whole thing. So I ended up winning 1 by 1 point. So now I've gone through to the next round. But like I said, for me, it's just a lesson on just embracing that uncomfortableness, because the whole reason I joined was to get better and step out of my comfort zone. And then when I got presented with this opportunity, completely by accident, was I actually going to step up and do what I said I was going to do, or was I going to shy away from it? And so for me, I've learned a lot about it. But then the interesting thing is when I won, because there was such pressure on me to win, on myself. Like I said, I want to win. And then when I did win, I drove home yesterday. It didn't really feel anything.
Were you not buzzing?
I know. No. But again, and this is the thing. I then sat eating my dinner afterwards, and I thought, it's because I expected to. And what I mean by that, what I mean by that is, not in an arrogant way, but if I'm going to become one of the best speakers in the world, of course, I would win that. It's a natural step. It's a natural progression. Does that make sense?
I get you. Yeah,
it's not an egotistical thing, but it's like in my head, it's like, this is where I'm going. So of course, this is a natural step.
You don't want to be shocked every time you
because
do well in that.
Because that then tells me I don't believe it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like, but don't get me wrong, I was very grateful. So it wasn't a fact of like I wasn't grateful. I didn't say good job for myself. It wasn't anything like that. But I wasn't buzzing.
And
elated.
Also on the polar side of that, if you hadn't won, you wouldn't have gone and beaten yourself up from it either.
No. It's a
it
learning.
was just I was like, we were still working toward it.
But even then, because the guy that I lost, I said that won by 1 point. Great guy, and again, he's a fantastic speaker. Before the announced who won, I was talking to him. I said, "Mate, you are fantastic at storytelling." Like, genuinely, his storytelling was phenomenal. As soon as he got up there and spoke, I was comfortable with losing. Comfortable. I was like, this guy's brilliant at storytelling. If I'm going to lose. I was very comfortable with that. I'd already gone at this point. So I'd already gone and done my thing. It's out of my control. He started talking. I was like, if I lose, I'm comfortable with losing because he's phenomenal. And then we were talking about it afterwards. And then I was like, how do you tell such good stories? And then he was telling me. And then he says, how do you deliver it so passionately?
Yeah.
He says, because your thing says, you've just got this aura. So when you step on there, it's like you've got this power. He says, no one here's got that. And I was talking to him, I don't really know, but I'm going to think about it because I wanted to give back. And he was basically telling me how to create these stories and how he does it. So I've then learned something. Whether I won or lost at that point, I'd already won because I now know how to tell better stories. So it wasn't about the winning. It was about actually I needed to learn and grow and develop, which regardless of if I won, I did do that before it got announced because he'd already told me how to improve my story.
Does
that make sense? So for me, I'd already won.
What was the thing that resonated most of what he said in storytelling? Can you remember?
Details.
Yeah.
Real details. To paint the picture, because when he was telling his story, I literally imagined, I could see it. Every part of his story, I was there with him. Whereas with me, I don't think I was that good at explaining the details, to paint the picture for people. He paints fantastic pictures. There's one point where he said about he fell and tripped over something and he grabbed a cold metallic handle.
Nice.
And straight away, the description, I was like, yes, I'm with you. I could picture the staircase, the cold metallic handle. I was like, I'm there. And every
description.
His description was phenomenal. And I was just like, yes, that's what I was lacking in my story. So now when I've got to redo it, I'm going to add in more details because I was like, that is what was missing for me. And that is the key for the storytelling that I think I was missing, which I needed to know.
He said that comedian one time, when you're telling an anecdote, don't just say a biscuit, make sure you're home. What biscuit was it? Was it a hobnob? Was it a rich tea? What was it? And really
put the audience there.
And
that's what it means. I felt immersed when I was there.
Yeah,
like whether it was funny or not. Again, to get points scored, it wasn't just about the content. There was other things that went into it.
Cool.
So like it was like his storytelling was definitely better than mine, but there's clearly other areas that I was better at him at, which is why I ended up winning. But his storytelling was phenomenal. So I learned something from it, and that's why I'm there. I'm there to learn, to grow, and hopefully I can then teach him how I deliver.
Just as a question on comfort zones, how important do you think that is for people to be outside of your comfort zone? And what is the balance within comfort zone where people may just live outside of the comfort zone? Do you think that's healthy?
I don't think it's unhealthy. I don't think it's unhealthy to be outside your comfort zone all the time. I don't think that's an issue, because for me, it's you're growing and developing. It's just, can you handle it? Like the stress. Because if you're constantly outside your comfort zone, it's a very stressful place to be.
Yeah.
So my question is...
And also, is it congruent to what you want to do?
Exactly. Are you just being chaotic? Are you just being completely chaotic and just going all over the place like a shotgun, just trying to scatter things everywhere and see if something sticks?
Yeah.
But if you're constantly stepping out of your comfort zone, moving in the direction you want to, as long as you're handling that stress, actually genuinely handling it, and it's not affecting your life, not affecting your sleep, you're recovering from it, you're doing all the reflectors to look after yourself, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I don't think there's a problem with it at all. Every now and again, you need to go into your comfort zone, maybe regroup, relax, and then you go again. But for me, it's all part of growing. Like, if you just stay still in your comfort zone, you will not grow. And I think people, when they get a little bit uncomfortable, fear kicks in. The fear kicks in because they're worried about, what if I can't do this? What are people going to think of me? And that's what it is. They're basically just stuck there in this kind of fear bubble.
Do you think judgment's the biggest factor in this?
So the analogy that I used with this, again, got off another podcast I share with my clients the other day, is imagine that we are in a theatre, movie theatre, let's say, but it's not a movie theatre, it's a speaking conference, and you're there with all these people, and you get a text message that you had to leave. Would you get up in front of all those people and leave the room? Most people would say no. And why wouldn't they say no? Because what would the people think? What would they say?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's flip that. Same situation, same scenario. The text message you've got is from the person that you love the most in the world. So it could be your kid, obviously your kid's a bit young, but let's just imagine they're older. It could be kids, it could be Chrissy, your mum, whatever, anybody, the person that you care about the most in the world. And it says, I'm in hospital and I'm dying. You need to get here quickly to save my life. Would you give two effing shits about standing up and leaving that room?
I like it. You didn't swear.
Would you? Yeah, I know. That's not bad. Beep, 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 beep. But would you care? No. You'd get up and you'd leave that thing. Yeah. And if someone tried to stop you at the door, what would you do? Get the hell out of my way. Then you get to your car, got 2 flat tyres. What would you do? You'd call an Uber, you'd run, you'd bike, whatever it is. You get to the hospital, sorry, can't come in. What would you do? You'd find a way. You'd literally, any obstacle, you would find a way. Okay. So that's for the person you love the most. You should love yourself the most. So that should be your goals and your dreams. Why are you letting people stop you at the first hurdle of what will people say? Because
that's a beautiful metaphor.
Brilliant, isn't it?
I like that, yeah.
So why are you caring about what people say? Because as soon as you flipped it and the person you didn't care about what people said, if people judged you, what the speaker thought on stage, how to get all irrelevant.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, so there we go. And
I'm
nicking
that.
Yeah, so there we go. And that for me is an important thing of, like he's looking at it again. So again, a lot of people when they're in that, I'm doing a podcast on this tomorrow actually. They get to that stage of change. So nothing stays the same. So things are changing, and again, it gets stuck in that procrastination. Yeah, like the fear takes hold. They start to doubt themselves. All these things are just a sign that you're moving in the right direction. But the procrastination is like, what are you afraid of? Yeah. And again, it's maybe stepping out of that comfort zone. What will people say? What will people think? And then just getting curious with that. So why are you feeling? Why are you procrastinating? What is it? Like, if this thing succeeds, what will that mean? If it doesn't succeed, what will it mean? And just try and break it down. Like, why are you procrastinating? And just what you're afraid of. Like, where's this all come from? Like, and just kind of really try and break it down and figure yourself out a bit more.
Brilliant advice, mate. Dude, I'm all
in.
in.
I'm here for, mate. It's what I'm here for.
See you later, folks. Right, mate, should we do it?
Let's go, mate. Let's go.
Whew, we have been on a roller coaster, but now we're going to find out a bit more about our emotional intelligence. And this is through Sus, so thank you again, Sus, if you can see that, or pop it over there. So these are questions. Can you remember the dynamic?
Yeah.
If you've not listened to this before, there's a dynamic. I'm going to ask Dan a question. I'll answer it too. And he's got A, B, or C. Now, you've got to answer for yourself. So your own emotional intelligence. one time we could do, well, I'll see how it goes, but we could do it for each other as well. You could guess for me.
That's interesting.
But I'm going to see how you get on.
We'll stick old school today.
Yeah, old school now. Ideas just pop in my head. I'm like, oh, let's sort that out mid-podcast.
Oh, we got to see.
Okay, you ready for this then, dude? Right. Would I say that I'm getting braver as I get older? Yes. No. It isn't changing much.
100%. Yeah.
100% braver.
100% braver. 100%.
Can you reflect on that from past Dan and now Dan, getting older Dan?
So for me, being braver is more about the beliefs. So when I was younger, I didn't believe I could do anything, so I didn't really try. Whereas actually now, I'm not necessarily getting braver, I'm just believing myself more. So that for me is bravery. Bravery is believing that you can essentially do that thing that you're meant to be doing, stepping out of your comfort zone, as we just discussed. So I'm being a lot braver in the stuff that I do. So for example, reaching out to people to come on the podcast, saying yes to events down in Portsmouth, all this stuff, for me, that is bravery. That again, doing the, just anything, like I'm stepping out of my comfort zone more and I can embrace that. On the flip side of that, if, for example, you told me to do something crazy, would I be brave in doing that? Potentially not, because I've got more fear of, I know the consequences to the actions.
That's where I was at.
Yeah, so it depends. So again, this is what I like about this, because there's the whole question is open to interpretation.
Because what you were saying then, and I suppose that's semantics, but sounded like confidence. You really become confident in yourself. But brave.
But again, what's the definition of brave?
Oh, do you want to grab it up?
But this thing for me, like, so if we're talking about this, and we need to know what the definition is. So,
because then, for me, the other day I was walking with Ella in Chatsworth. What an amazing place to go to!
Isn't it? Yeah.
But some of the big walks, she went up these massive steps.
Yeah, kids don't care, do they?
Honestly, not a bother in the world. And I'm walking with her, and then there's some sheer drops, and I'm just starting to get this panic on, and I just love her so much. I don't want her to hurt, and she is a little bit naive or can just jump about. So I'm thinking, I didn't feel brave in that situation, where before I would have been just, whatever, let's go, let's do it. But I was protective of her. So yeah.
The two definitions, the adjective is ready to face and endure danger or pain, showing courage.
Yeah.
Or as a verb, endure or face unpleasant conditions or behaviours without showing fear. So again, it's kind of the same sort of thing. Like, it's that self-confidence, like the second one is anyway, like to endure or face unpleasant conditions or behaviours without showing fear. So it's like stepping into that and being confident in yourself to handle that without being afraid of the unknown, essentially.
I love these questions because everything's context, isn't it? It's like a big height. My fear comes from, I know the consequences now. So an injury, say I've been injured before, and when I had my knee operation done, I'm out for so long, and I know the gravitas of that. Yep. So I'm more skeptical, or more. I stay away from those sort of situations and scenarios where I know I can get injured. Yep. So,
but so for me, it's like endure danger or pain. So again, in context, so the example you use here is a brave soldier. Like, do you ever had to fight to defend, like Katie or whatever? Like, I would. Like, let's say, for example, God forbid, something happens tonight on the farm and some crazy person comes on. Would I be brave in that situation just to step forward? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
In that situation. However, am I going to go do something where I could break my leg? Probably not.
Start skateboarding.
For example, for me, it's like, is that brave? I mean, for me, I know the consequences.
Then there's a bit of stupidity with
that. So for me, it's like, I still stick with my original answer. My original answer is that yes, I do think I've got more brave as I've got older. But it's all contextual, which everything is. What would you say?
Yeah, I am.
You're also a father as well, so yours.
I'm brave in. Oh, do you know what? I don't know if I am, because I thought about myself as a kid, and I was at drama school for a little bit. And I'd get up and I'd just have fun and be silly. And I was sort of the class clown. And that sense of, again, judgment, it just wasn't there for a long time. Then I went through some bullying, harrowing times. And this self, I can get up, I can go for it. But it takes me a little bit more to get on a stage now. Probably through situations that haven't gone as I would have liked them to go. So I'm more conscious of it.
So again, then like I said, it ties into that self-confidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think they're very closely linked.
They are.
And this is the thing. That's why I love. That's why I just put up the definition. Because like, actually, because when you made that point, I'm like, actually, have I got that wrong? But the way I interpreted it was that, and how you've described that is in that self-confidence.
Yeah.
Because you've had past experiences that didn't quite go well, so you have the confidence in yourself to go up and actually do that thing. But again, it's still being brave because you're putting yourself into a vulnerable position.
Yeah, more brave, because then you know the consequence behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So,
that's a great question.
So what are you saying? What's your final answer?
I think when I was a kid, I was fearless, but through having lack of experience. So now I've got a lot more experience, but I still push myself through those experiences. I'm more brave because of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was good.
That's a good start. That's a good start. That's meaty, right?
That genuinely made me feel good.
Good start. I'm gonna keep my phone up just in case you need another definition, because
mate, that was brilliant.
I want to make sure I get the right.
I really enjoy how thorough we go with these questions. Though you could just say and move on, but
I think we did that on one, didn't we? Like last time we did.
You did one where you're
like,
move
next,
that.
Yeah.
I'm not lazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Which would I say I'm best at? Firing off witty comebacks, making funny observations, dazzling people with mind-blowing facts.
100% comebacks.
You
we
are,
talk about this.
Yeah,
like,
tell
me,
why.
That's my comedy. My comedy is, I'm not very funny in life, but actually, if someone says something, I will literally be savage in a funny way back.
Yeah.
Like, that's my level of banter.
Is that because of your brothers?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and again, growing up in the football culture and all that sort of stuff, it's just, for me, yeah, when someone says something,
you have to protect yourself in a football culture.
If someone's going to throw some heat my way, like you bring what I say to Katie: if you can't handle heat, get out of the kitchen. Like, you're going to throw some shade my way, I'm going to throw it back, but I am going to go savage. Like, so you have to up that, and most people don't want to. Is that okay?
Out of those. Which do you wished you had? Are you happy with the comebacks or?
Yeah. Like I said, because I'm not trying to. It naturally comes off the bat, and sometimes like, it's a bit harsh, and I'm like, sorry. And I will always say sorry. If I take it too far, but actually, but normally I get it quite bang on. Like, I'm good with my delivery. What were the other two?
Making funny observations.
Yeah.
Dazzling people with mind-blowing facts.
So what the second question was? Which one was I better at? Probably the facts, if I'm honest with you, because I've got a load of facts, but most people don't care.
Yeah,
they're
not being dazzled by you.
Yeah, this is then also the thing. Most people aren't ready to hear the information I've got, and that's not being big-headed or egotistical. Most people, and this is where people get it so wrong. Most people are in a state of struggling, just a little bit. Whether it is, most people have just got this level of friction in their life, and they don't quite know what it is. They've got this block, stickiness. They want to know how to get unstuck. In the most basic terms, cool. I've got knowledge that goes way beyond that and can help them achieve amazing stuff. I don't want to pitch down here when people need to hear this. Does that make sense? The knowledge that I've got, no one's ready to hear that. They want to hear the stuff, the real basic, simple stuff that can just get them a little bit unstuck, which is what most people want. Most people just
because of instant gratification type thing.
Yeah, but you get it all the time. Where I use an example,
like an affirmation style.
The example I use is when I was working in Nottingham as a personal trainer, one of the top companies in the country. There was a guy there that was so knowledgeable. He was the most knowledgeable book smart PT that was there. So knowledgeable. But he could not transfer that into real life results. He had no results with his clients. So there's personal trainers there, myself included, that were nowhere near as knowledgeable, yet had absolutely insane world-class results. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like he had all this knowledge, and all he was doing was wowing people with that knowledge. But they weren't ready to hear it. Like, they wanted this and needed this. He was delivering it down here. And that's the thing for me. It's like, the knowledge I've got, people aren't ready to hear it and probably don't want to hear it because it means nothing to them.
Yeah.
Just want to know how to just get a little bit more unstuck and again just take back control. I think a lot of people, again, that's the word I was looking for there, control. A lot of people are a bit out of control and helpless. So for me, it's just, can we just steady the ship a little bit? For most people, it's just ship bobbing along and it's in a storm and a bit chaotic. Can we just steady the ship a little bit and just give people a bit more clarity and calm to be like, right, actually I've got a bit more control of my life than I thought I had. That's ultimately what it is for me, rather than being like, oh, we can take your ship all the way to this amazing destination over there. People don't care.
Yeah.
Right now, they're stuck in a storm. They don't care about the destination over there. They just care about right now. And same with kids in school. So many people talk about careers and what they want to do in 15 years. Some of these kids are struggling to wake up in the morning. Some of these kids are literally, to get through the day is so exhausting, and you're talking about careers like they care. Like they care where they're going to be in 15 years. They want to just know if they're going to make it to Christmas. Do you know what I mean? That's the fact. Some aren't eating, like their parents are struggling financially, like no heating.
Next day to the next.
And they're not bothered. They're not bothered. So why would I want to dazzle them with, oh, we can get you to have the best career in the world? And they want to know how to get through the day.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that's the answer to
that.
There you go.
You can't nail. That was the answer to that, was it? Yeah.
My answer to that, sorry.
Which would I say I'm best at? Yeah. Dazzling people, it sounds like, actually, mate. Do you know what? A, B, and C, firing off witty comebacks, making funny observations. I'm none of them.
You make some funny observations, like you.
I'm an observer.
Just not funny.
No. I can be, but I've got to be in a real peaceful, present state of mind.
Yeah.
And I'm often there at the minute because I'm in a good state, but sometimes I'm not.
Yeah.
And
that's okay.
My recall, the reason I love poetry and the reason I love writing is because it gives me the breathing space to really pitch what I want to say and think about it and articulate it and find the words. Because I don't know if it is the dyslexia, and also I attribute it to when I was at school and the bullying was vicious, but it was just thrown on top and on top and on top and on top, and I didn't have anything to say. I felt voiceless with it. I've got a kind of a struggle with that then. And there is a genuine bit of a trigger that I deal with when I'm with friends now, with you guys, I'm with Chrissy, and still my mind's saying, what shall I say? What shall I say? And because it's panicking to get that funny thing or whatever it is, it just comes up with nothing. My recall's rubbish. So that's why I love writing.
Yeah.
So I thought, something more gentle where I can process it would be in there. But yeah, it must be more the funny observations where I'm processing it. Yeah.
Good answer.
I'll take it. Oh, right, okay. Oh, I think we could really get involved in this one.
Oh, okay. Oh, God.
Which motivates me most? A, doing good. B, doing my best. C, doing better than others.
All of them. So I'll start with the last one. So doing better than others depends where I'm at and what I'm doing, because there's still part of me from, again, having 4 brothers, that I want to be better than other people. Not in any I'm better than anybody else or in a negative, destructive way, but just have that healthy competition. I think competition's healthy.
Like hierarchy.
Yeah, so it's like
being in the pack.
Let's say, for example, like I want to use something really random here. Let's say you play golf.
Yeah,
I don't play golf. I don't know if you do, but let's assume we
I'm
both play golf.
competitive.
Okay,
man.
well I don't. Okay, but we're going to assume we don't play golf. Let's say me and you both start playing golf together, and again, you start getting better than me. I want to get better than you, so that'll motivate me to get better. I think that's healthy. I'm not judging my self-worth on, like Mikey's so much better than me as a human being. It's like, oh, Mikey's better at golf than me. Well, I need to get better. So that's going to motivate me to get better. It's like, well, Mikey's like, he's my mate. I know him. Like, if he can do it, then I can do it. So then that motivates me. That's my primary one. So I'm just getting that out of the way first, because that can be really beneficial. I think some people demonize like that kind of motivation. I don't think it's a problem.
Started doing a participation trophies and stuff.
For me, it's like there's nothing wrong if comparing yourself to somebody else is going to get you started, then you use it. Harness that dark energy, because it is. You can't just go through your whole life comparing yourself and being like, I want to beat everyone around me. It's quite a dark way to start. That's to live your life, because you're always comparing yourself. You always, like, for me, that's only gets you so far. But if you need it to get started, then use that. And then you can then transition, as far as I'm concerned, onto the other two, where actually you want to do better for yourself. I think it was the second one, wasn't it? Was the second one, do better for yourself?
Doing my best.
Doing my best. So then doing best. Yeah, we should always do your best anyway. That's, for me, regardless. Like, you should always give 100% of whatever you've got. So even if you're feeling at 50%, you should give 100% that 50%. So that, for me, is a given. Like, that's a non-negotiable. You should always do your best, because otherwise, what the hell's the point? Yeah. What the hell is the point? If you're doing something, we're not going to give you best. Why are you doing that thing? That's my opinion. So that's a non-negotiable. Then the first one, doing the best for others. So what was the first one?
Doing good
for others. Was it for others?
No, it's just doing good. So which motivates me most? Doing good.
Oh yeah, I've read that wrong. Yeah.
Doing my best. Doing better than others, which motivates me most.
I misread that question.
I like where you went with the first.
Yeah. So
doing your best. I agree. Yeah, we should always put our best in, no matter what. And even if that's sort of... Didn't you make a really good analogy before about sometimes your best... It was a league table. Yeah. Can you remember the Premier League table?
I don't think that was to do with doing your best.
Was it not?
That was to do with...
how you're showing up?
No, that's to do with when you're struggling, when you've basically been struggling, you get yourself to a good place, and then sometimes you fall down a bit and sort of you go up. Yeah, but I probably could come with an analogy for that.
Well, yeah, because it's fairly similar. Because again, your best at one day is top of the Premier League, And then other days when you've got the lowest of energy or wherever you're at, you've had a shittest day.
So use a football team. So as a football team, as a football player, and you know you're playing a team that's better than you, and your squad it got loads of injuries. Yeah. You should still give 100% of what you've got on that day.
Yeah, and not just succumb to defeat.
Yeah, and even if you, again, or let's say just any profession you've got, let's say like you do poetry or me public speaking, there's been days where I don't feel well. I feel literally 60%. I will still give 100% of my 60% because that's a choice. It's a choice. Yeah. So that's the thing, when it comes to these professional football players and you see them, I don't care if you're not 100%. But you can see if people are trying.
Yeah.
Are you giving me 100%? If you're giving me 100% and you're having a terrible game, I don't think anyone cares. You can see they're trying. They're just having one of those off days. But I can't accept people that don't even try because that is 100% your choice. It's 100% your choice. And people think just kind of blasé through life. They don't give 100%. What's the point? I just can't accept that. I can't see why people do that. And again, it's mainly because people don't know they have a choice. But for me, you don't feel great. You don't feel 100%. You don't feel whatever it is. You can still give 100% of whatever it is that you've got. That is a choice. And if that's not good enough for other people, that's fine. But you know that you go home that night, I gave 100% of that 50% that I had. Again, we've got bad mental health. Okay, but you've still got to go to work. I'm feeling at 20%. You can still give 100% of that 20%. And that's it. As long as you go home that night and know, listen, I gave 100% of that 20%. I wasn't mentally there. I was struggling. I just wanted to crawl into a hole, but I showed up as best I could. That's it. Rather than, I'm not feeling great today, I'm not going to bother trying. And then the first one, the comment what it was.
Doing good, that suggests it's more about serving.
That's what I thought. Doing good. That's why I thought the point was doing good for other people, because that for me that motivates me the most. Doing good, doing good in the world. I think that for me is the primary one. Like here, like with what you do at the farm, it's about doing good for other people.
Yeah. So A sounds like others. Yeah. B sounds like self.
And the third one is comparison.
C is competition.
Yeah.
And all of them have a balance to them, don't they?
Absolutely.
And I really like where you went with the C.
Yeah.
But I think, when I'm on my best day, I like my competition because it thirsts me forward and it spurs me on and catapults me into doing my best. But also, C, doing better than others, I've definitely been caught in that trap of just looking at what they're up to and being pissed off by it and so on. Yeah. That's really ugly.
Yeah, and that's not going to help you. Yeah, and it's looking at the competition of, if you're looking at it from a constructive place. Yeah, of like, wow, they're doing that and it's better than me. You're not putting your self-worth on that. You're just saying, right, I need to up my game. You're seeing it as a healthy competition, rather than they're better than me. Why am I such a loser? I'm such a failure. My stuff is absolutely rubbish. It's not that at all. You're looking at that competition and you're seeing it as healthy competition of, wow, they're in the same zone as me, like podcasting or poetry or music. They're in the same zone as me. They're from the same area as me. They're doing that. Wow, that means it's possible for me. Right, what are they doing right? What has got them there? Because then you're using that competition. Your competition will tell you, this is how I do it. You'll be able to look for patterns. Wow, I'm going to do that. Because then guess what? You get better. What to do for them? And what's that old saying? A rising tide raises all ships. Yeah. That's the kind of mentality you want to have, as long as it's constructive, not destructive.
And you don't get too lost in it, just looking at them.
Yeah, you're focused on yourself. Yeah.
Then when you don't do that, doing best for yourself, you lose everything you're about, and you start makeshifting yourself to be like them.
Absolutely.
So I think that's, if it's what motivates me the most, because also that doing good is quite arbitrary, isn't it? It's quite elusive. Good. We don't always know what's best for other people, because sometimes we don't even know what's good enough for ourselves.
You can't ever tell. That's the thing. A lot of people try and tell people, oh, you should, like we said on top. Like, so for me, to answer it, I think number 2 is my main one. It's mine. For myself, to then help other people, and then as a byproduct, I can look around other people and see kind of what they're doing to elevate up. That would be my thought process behind that.
Yeah. If I was putting it together, it'd go doing my best, then doing good. And then within all that, I can start looking at the competitive elements, but trying to be balanced with it.
We're both agreed on that. I agree.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah, that was a great question again.
Okay, let's go to this. Which am I most chilled about? Working without all the information, being decisive in a crisis, listening to other people's problems. Which am I most chilled about?
Again, all of them, I would say. I'm going to lean more towards, I would say, C.
Mate, you could not work without all the information.
If I needed to, I could.
Yeah.
If I needed to, I could. And that's the thing where sometimes, because I've got a lot better at doing that. Like,
really?
actually, no. I tell a lie. You're completely right. I don't even know what I'm trying to BS that. No, because I'm using the prime example of when I came here last time on the farm.
Yeah.
And you were so elusive with what I needed to do. I was like,
I didn't know myself.
And I was just like, I can't operate that. You need to tell me what I need to do. So no, you're right. I don't need necessarily all the information, but you need to give me parameters.
Yeah.
So you don't need to spoon feed me, but just tell me roughly.
Yeah.
This is what it is. You've got this many kids, and this is the outcome.
100%.
You don't just tell me. You don't just spoon feed me. Just
Oh, dude,
and I'll go with that.
I've been sent into a nursery recently.
Oh, you told me. We need to talk about that off air. We need to talk about that. Yeah, that should be the first thing to talk about off air. But so in that, I could not do that. That is a hell no from me. I wouldn't even if I was you, I wouldn't have even gone to that. I wouldn't have done it. That is so far out of my comfort zone, and it would have been completely against me as a person. Like, just tell me roughly how many people are going to show up, what's the demographic, what's the outcome you want, and I will do the rest. So I don't need all the information. You don't need to tell me like I want to hit all these points. But so that's the one that I'm the least comfortable with. The most comfortable is when I'm listening to people. People seem to be drawn to me. As you discussed at the start of this podcast, people seem drawn to me, and I'm very comfortable listening to other people because. And again, some people aren't good at this. Some people, because I'm very empathetic. And I've realised this when I went to a recent gig recently at Alexandra Palace in London. I pick up on people's energies a lot recently. I don't know what shifted in me, but I can really feel people's energy, and it really drains on me. Do you know if I'm not mentally prepared for it? Yeah. But do you know if I know I'm going to listen to someone, I put my suit of armour on, is what I call, and I can just take a step back from it, and I can just listen. And I'm very good at listening without taking it home with me. But if people catch me off guard, I can take it very I can feel the pain. I've got such a thing of feeling people's pain if I'm not in that place to put my suit of armour on, if that makes sense. But that's where I'm most comfortable, most chill. And also in times of crisis, like I've been in a few situations, can't remember thing off the top of my head, but as soon as you said that, I know that I can do that. If something happens, I don't freeze. I'm very good at logical, because I'm a very logical person. This is what we're doing to get out of this situation. So in the chaos, I'm very, very good. Like, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. For example, like again, like something happened on the farm, like was mentioned earlier on, I know exactly what to do.
I'm coming to you later on if anything cracks off.
But that's the thing, it's just very logical about the situation. Doesn't mean I always make the right things, but I'll be very calm in that situation. Right, what we've got to do. But the one I'm most chill about, 100%, is listen to the people. Yeah,
it's funny, isn't it? Because some people really do listen to people's problems, but take them on as their own.
Yeah, and I don't think that's healthy.
No, why would you?
And again, it's like, it's like, I feel like you're then draining your own energy unnecessarily. You don't need to feel that person's pain to understand the pain they're going through. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
You don't need to feel it to understand it. That person doesn't need you to feel that pain. They just need you to understand it.
Be compassionate, but you can detach yourself away from it.
Yeah.
That really does seem like the most chilled. I think working without all the information for myself, it's something I'm really wanting to enjoy more.
I think you're good at that. You seem to thrive in a bit of chaos.
I thrive in the chaos, and I think you can learn a lot within it too. So it's not necessarily pure enjoyment, though. I am winging it. I'm doing.
The question wasn't enjoyment, was it? Was it enjoyment or was it chill?
It's chilled, yeah. So
no, I'm not saying you enjoy it.
Yeah, working without all the information.
Are you chill? Like, are you in a calm state? Would you panic?
Okay, it's weird because do you know, it's funny, isn't it? Because you conjure up more in your mind than what the actuality is. Always.
Yeah. Worst case scenarios, yeah.
And for me, that's a good situation to look at. The nursery one on a Sunday, I wasted my Sunday just prepping it and thinking about it and panicking within it because it's just not my bag either. Yeah. But the money's pretty good, man. So I'm picturing that, and then when I'm in it, like the situation where I'm in a classroom and they've actually arrived, I thrive in that. Yeah. I can always make that work. Even when it's gone south, quote unquote, I've always had a laugh, found a way through it, and not panicked. But it's being in the situation. Yeah. It's the before, where it stresses me out. And
see, I'm the opposite. I have to be prepared. So in that situation, I would love that Sunday to prepare.
Right.
So then when I get there, I'm more chill. That would make me more chill. But having all the kids in there and it not going to plan, I'd be a bit like, that for me, I'm like, I don't then. Do you know what I mean? I'm very like.
I suppose mine is, it's so alien. I've never been in a nursery. I've worked with kids being my own kids and doing a poem or whatever. But working in nursery, I've got no reference point to it. So
I wouldn't have a clue, mate.
What a stupid request.
I wouldn't have a clue.
Being decisive in a crisis, I back myself for that. But I've had situations before. I remember vividly of a dog that we had, and it got his finger trapped inside his finger. Paw.
Dog finger.
Poor little dog. It was a bit of a weird dog. And as a kid, I pegged it. My mum had to sort it out because it was yelping and doing all that, and I got slight PTSD from that. It was like a panic station moment. So when it's happened before, like even with Ella, she got her finger trapped in a door, and my childhood self went back to that moment, and I just lost it. And I was like, this is going to PTSD her. Don't do it. Because in my head, I was panicking, but then I went, no. We need to make this best for her in the whole situation. So I don't fully back myself for it yet, but I really want to get better at that.
Aware of it?
Yeah, I'm aware of it.
Yeah.
So I know when that time arises, breathe, really ground yourself and
get present.
Yeah.
And that's what you did. All you did was there. You got out of your own head.
Yeah.
You're present. Like Ella needed you.
And this isn't about me right now.
Present. Like present. What's the information? Bam. Rather than get inside your own head. When you give yourself that time to think, that's when you get. Yeah.
Mate, well, let's do one more.
One more. Yep.
And see where we get to from
what time are we on?
We're on.
Is it like how long we going for?
Oh, how long? Nearly an hour.
Oh, yeah. Well, time flies. Genuinely, time flies.
Let's get this one. Okay. Again, interesting. Which do I... Oh, no, let's go for this one, because I just saw...
Yeah.
Which of these do I do best? A. Think quickly on my feet. B. Recover quickly after defeat. C. Change my opinions quickly. Which of these do I do best?
I don't say change my opinions quickly. I'm always open to change my opinions. I'm always open. But I feel like if you're quick to changing your opinion,
you're just too malleable.
Yeah, people say something.
Putty.
Oh yeah. It's like no, like
being too suggestible.
100%. So
not knowing yourself.
100%. So I'm very quick to change my opinion, but I'm very open to changing it. Like I said, I'm there to listen to all the facts.
I like what you said there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so that's that one. What was the other?
Recover quickly after defeat.
Depends what kind of defeat.
Think quickly on my feet.
Thinking quickly on my feet. I'll say thinking quickly on my feet is 100% probably the one. Like I said, doing the radio, stuff like that. Like the podcast, this is literally think on my feet. I'm very good and I back myself to think quickly on my feet. The recovering from defeat one, I'm very good at small things. So if something happened and the day didn't go as planned, I'm cool with that, not a problem. But then obviously that thing happened in my life last year. That literally took me. I spoke to the lady I said earlier on about this week. It was only in June this year, so nearly a year, that I actually felt like I'd recovered from that situation. Even though I dealt with it. And this is the thing, I never really spoke about it. And obviously when Katie shares my story on my podcast, go into more detail about it. No one knew how much I struggled. No one knew how much I struggled because I kept it to myself. But I was dealing with it and I worked my way through it. That's a massive thing.
How did you deal with it then if you were keeping it to yourself? How did you...
Took one day at a time.
Yeah?
Yeah, took one day at a time. That's all I do. But anything else in my life, like if something happens, like I could deal with it and I can bounce back quite quickly. I'm very logical. I've got my things in place to do that. But if it's a big thing, I'll because that hurt my soul. Like that literally broke my heart. The whole situation broke my heart.
I could tell, man.
Yeah, that was very hard. So for me, that was very slow responding to that. But normally I'm quite good. So I would say...
How recovered are you from that?
I'm almost. I would say now I'm probably about 90% back to my best. Like I'm more than 95. Like I'm up there, back to my best where I was. But literally, and I didn't realize how bad it was until I really looked back and reflected. Look back I just didn't. Yeah, and I said I'll say that for the podcast with Katie because she'll. I don't know what she's going to say. At the end, I'll be thinking on my feet, which is the key one because it's literally about the radio. Or like this, she's literally going to be coming at questions, and I've got no idea what she's going to ask me. So that's going to be an episode to look out for.
Could you put them in order for yourself?
So the first one is the thinking on my feet. So that's the one I'm best at. Then the second one is my second in the order that's on there.
Really? So recover quickly after defeat and then check. Mate, out of all the questions we've done today, the think quickly on feet resonates most out of anything.
God, that's what you got to do with the farm every day with the kids. You've got a group of kids. You have to
working with young people.
Yeah, 100%. You never know you're going to get there.
Yeah, I've really excelled in that. I'm thinking of it even when forgetting stuff. Do you know when I've done that in the past? But I've had to Do I go clean? Do I make it work? Do we think something through?
It's always different, but you've learned a valuable lesson there. Like that horse thing you said, like that was a big thing for you. Like that was a stupid thing. You should have just owned that straight away, and the outcome of that wasn't great. But there's other things where it's like then you came clean about the batteries and stuff.
Yeah,
you knew there was no way out of that. I think you got better, loads better.
And then the thinking element where you're like, right, Mikey, you're here again. Deal with it.
Yeah,
that's the best, massively.
Yeah.
When I've done that, the feeling, because I don't like making the same mistakes. That's my I really hate doing that. So the recovering from that, mate, it does it takes me a good few days.
Well, that's why whatever day that was. It was the fleet mole. I think I've done it a few times, but I think the fleet mole was the worst one. I think.
Yeah.
On
your podcast.
Yeah. But when I then messaged you afterwards, I was like, mate, I could see you beating yourself up. And even at the time, you said to me, I think, like, why wasn't I getting more worked up about it? And I was like, because I know what you're doing to yourself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the end of the world. Like, it wasn't the end of the world. And you were almost like, I think you were perplexed that I wasn't getting more annoyed. I think you were expecting me to lose my shit.
Yeah, I was like, please lose it.
But it's like no, because I knew, I already knew, I could see that it was visibly bothering you. So
yeah.
Like, it's cool. Like, again, as long as you don't make the same mistakes, which you haven't. And that's all I say. Like, it's just don't make the same mistakes again.
That's the one out of all of them that I'd really like to, again, work on more, is the recovering time. Because I sit with it for so long. Anything, them situations or others where I just didn't think I came out right, even on a podcast or on a talk, I could have the greatest talk of all time, but you know, if my ending, I balls up or it just hits flat, and I'm like, oh, I thought that was the good bit. It's a good thing that that's the part I'll hone in on and look at, because I want to develop it and make sure it's great. But I sit there for hours and ruminate and think about it.
But again, I think it's how you ruminate on it, because like I said, you want to. Like I always listen back to my podcasts. I always listen back to as much as I can me speaking. But I think you got to come at it from a place of compassion. Unless I've been like, you did the best that you could. Actually, I didn't like my ending. Okay, well, cool. Well, the rest of it was good. Don't just disregard it. But then actually sit in a constructive headspace. Get your pen and paper out, like I said earlier on, and just write about it. Okay, why did it bother you? Why does it bother you that this didn't land? Why do you think it didn't land? What could you do differently? So actually use it as a constructive thing rather than just sitting in your own head.
Yeah,
so it's really hard to think clearly inside your own head, and we catastrophize it. And actually, what may have been not the best ending, on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe it was a 5.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Maybe it was a 7. 7 out of 10. You wanted a 10 out of 10. The rest of the talk was 10 out of 10. That was a 7 out of 10. 3 hours into sitting inside your own head, you've gone from 7, it was now 4 out of 10. Because you've ripped it apart and you've made it worse than it is. The story you've told yourself is that you're terrible, you can't speak, you never need to go on again, like you need to get someone else to do your endings for you, and it's now 4 out of 10. And you just completely catastrophised. Well, actually,
come in and do the money shot.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you then actually take it back, and when you know it's a 7 out of 10, just then reflect on that. And then write about it, or do what you need to do to work on that 7 out of 10, rather than batting yourself down to a 4 out of 10 and then demoralising yourself. Does that make sense?
Mate,
that's what
completely. I think that would be, I'd do that best if I could have that reflective moment after.
Yeah.
Instead, it's rumination instead of reflection.
Pain plus reflection equals progress.
Yes. Oh, okay, mate. So we're both think quickly on feet people. Yeah. Beautiful. Sussed. You've done us proud again.
Legends.
Really appreciate it. We're going to use all your packs. Yeah. I love it. I really enjoyed these.
I've really enjoyed it as well. These
particularly the emotional intelligence.
Yeah, very, very good.
The others are very out there and playful, and you can have some really nonsensical, wonderful conversations. But these
adding value. Yeah,
these are like
people, I think,
soul searching. So amazing, man.
Awesome.
Where do people find all the? You've got some bloody really good podcasts out at the minute. Yeah. Really, it might be the best trajectory through and through we've been on for a long time. So
I think we're building up to that one with me and Katie doing, because I thought about that a lot. And again, not bigging up too much, but I know it's going to be good because she literally knows everything about me. Yeah. So she's going to throw some crazy stuff at us. So I think it's going to be a great episode, and it seems like we're building up to that, not intentionally, but that's where the guests are going. So if people want to find out about me on Instagram, the Prime Life Project, feel free to drop me a message. Happily reply back to you. And then on the podcast, which again you are co-host of whenever I don't have guests on. So 2 episodes come out a week. So one that Mike is involved in, which is the Tuesday episodes, and then the Thursday episodes are just shorter episodes, 5 to 10 minutes of me just adding some value and sharing my experiences that may be able to help you. And that is the Prime Life Project podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast.
Mate, you're a wonderful man.
Lots of love.
I'll do my bit. Guys, you've been a part of the Old Farm Bus, Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. I'll leave you on this. Always do, always will. Just be nice to one another. You're a beautiful set of buggers. Be nice.